Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Immigration to Canada series. Today's video is a step-by-step guide to help you get your permanent residency. This step-by-step guide will let you understand everything you need to know to apply for permanent residency under Express Entry. Before we start, if you are new to my channel, please click the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video is posted. Before we start, let us quickly understand what Express Entry is. Started in 2015, in its present form, Express Entry is an electronic system that Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, that is IRCC, used to manage and select candidates for permanent residency under three programs. The three programs under Express Entry includes Federal Skilled Worker Program, Federal Skilled Trade Program, Canadian Experience Class. Let's begin the step-by-step guide to apply under Express Entry. Step number 1 is to find out your National Occupational Classification or the NOC code. You need to understand what is the NOC or skill type you have. NOC is used by Canada government in relation to your work experience or skill type. For immigration, the main NOC job groups include skill type 0, which includes managerial occupations such as branch managers. The second one is skill type A, which includes professional occupations like dentist. The third one is skill type B, which includes technical occupations such as chef or plumbers. The fourth one is skill type C, which includes intermediate occupations such as truck drivers. And the final and the last one is the skill type D, which includes labor occupations such as fruit pickers and cleaning staff. Let us now find out what is the NOC requirement for Express Entry. You must have work experience under either skill type 0, A or B to be eligible under Express Entry. To find out your NOC code, you need to go to the NOC code website and search for NOC code whose duties would match most compatible with your work experience. It is important here to note that you need to match your job duties and not job title to select your NOC. NOC is very important because when you submit your application, which includes your proof of work experience, IRCC will compare your job duties with those given in the NOC job code. Let us now see an example of an NOC. When you find your NOC code, check the skill type or skill level. In this example, the NOC code is 0012 and the skill type is skill type A. For your experience, you could also be eligible for other immigration programs. For example, if you have experience in skill type 0, A or B, you are eligible for Express Entry and the Atlantic High Skill Program under the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. For skill type C, you are eligible for the Atlantic Intermediate Skill Program of Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, and for skill type C or D, you are eligible for some of the streams of the Provincial Nomination Program. Step number 2 includes taking your language test. For Express Entry program, language ability in English or in French is mandatory. You need to score a minimum number of points or band to be eligible. IRCC approved test includes either the English test or the French test. For English test, you can take the IELTS General Test or the CELPIP General Test. For French, you can take the TEF Canada or the TCEF Canada test. If you are taking the CELP exam, you need to make sure you are taking the General Test and not the General LS test. You need to also make sure that your result must be less than 2 years old when you create your Express Entry profile or apply for PR. Let us now find out the minimum language eligibility under Express Entry. To qualify for permanent residency under Express Entry, you need to score minimum eligibility points. For Federal Skilled Worker Program, you need to score minimum 6 bands in all the abilities in English. For French, you need C and CLC 5. Under the Federal Skilled Trade Program, you need to score 5 bands in speaking and listening and NCLC 5 for French. 3.5 in reading, 4 in writing for the IELTS, and NCLC 4 for French. Under the Canadian Experience class, if you are applying under NOC 0 or A, you need to score 6 bands in all the 4 abilities in English and NCLC 7 for French. If you are applying under NOC B, you need to score 4 in reading and 5 bands in all the other 3 abilities and NCLC 5 for French. It is important here to note that you cannot enter the express entry pool without language test in hand. Step number 3 includes applying for Educational Credential Assessment or the ECA report. You need to get your non-Canadian education assessed by IRCC approved organizations. Important point here, notice ECA is mandatory for immigration to Canada. However, you don't need an ECA for Canadian degrees, diploma or certifications. Designated organizations approved by IRCC to get your ECA report includes World Education Services, International Qualification Assessment Services, International Credential Evaluation Services, International Credential Assessment Service of Canada, and the Comparative Education Service from University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies. If you have your studies in medical field, then you need to get your ECA from Medical Council of Canada for professional bodies for doctors. If you are a pharmacist, you need to get your ECA from Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada. The fourth step includes checking your eligibility to express entry. To qualify under the 3 programs under express entry, you need to meet the minimum eligibility requirement. For the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you need to have 67 points out of 100 in 6 factors used to assess the candidate. The 6 factor includes age. For that, you can get maximum 12 points. For education, you can get maximum 25 points. Experience, you can get maximum 15 points, provided you have a minimum 1 year's experience in the last 10 years in NOC 0, A or B. For language ability, you can score maximum 28 points, and the eligibility includes minimum CLB 7 or 6 bands in all abilities in IELTS. You can also get additional 10 points for adaptability and another 10 points for a valid job offer from Canada, which is of at least 12 months from a Canadian employer in skill type 0, A or B. Federal Skilled Trade Program eligibility includes you should plan to live outside Quebec province. In language, you need minimum 5 bands in speaking and listening or NCLC 5 for French, 3.5 in reading and 4 in writing or NCLC 4 for French. 2 years experience in skilled trade in the last 5 years, and your experience must meet the essential duties set out in the NOC. You should also have a valid job offer of at least 12 months or a certification of qualification in skilled trade issued by Canadian, provincial or federal authority. Important point to note here is your experience must be in skilled trade NOCs only. For Canadian experience class, the eligibility includes you should plan to live outside Quebec province. If you're applying under NOC 0 or A, you should have minimum 6 bands in IELTS in all the 4 abilities and NCLC 7 for French. If you're applying under NOC B, you should have a minimum 4 bands in reading and 5 bands in all the other 3 abilities in IELTS and NCLC 5 for French. You must have 1 year of full-time work experience in Canada in NOC 0, A or B. Important point for the Canadian experience class to note is self-employment and internship experience do not count. Also, there is no minimum education requirement. However, if you have ECA report, you can earn extra point. Another eligibility requirement under express entry is the proof of funds. You need to prove that you have sufficient funds to support your family and yourself under Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Federal Skilled Trade Program. Important point here to note is you don't need proof of funds if you are currently working in Canada with a valid work permit or if you have a valid job offer from a Canadian employer. Also, candidates invited under Canadian Experience class do not need proof of funds. Step number 5 includes calculating your CRS score. You need to calculate your comprehensive ranking system score out of 1200. Applicants under express entry are given a score out of 1200 based on various factors important for newcomer success once they migrate to Canada. There are two groups under CRS. The first one is CRS points with spouse. The second one is CRS without spouse. For both the groups, you have 4 sections. The first 2 sections includes your core and human capital factors, which include age, education level, language proficiency, and Canadian work experience. For the third group, which is your skill transferability factor, you can score a maximum of 100 points. And the last and the final one includes additional points section, wherein you can score additional points if you have a provincial nomination, valid job offer, French ability, or a sibling in Canada. The 6th step includes creating your express entry profile. There are 2 steps to create express entry profile. First, using the Come to Canada tool, you need to check your eligibility and get your personal reference code. There is no need to submit any documents at this stage. Also, the tool will show whether you are eligible or not for express entry program. The second step is creating your GCKey account. Creating a profile under express entry using the GCKey Create Account section, you will be asked to enter your reference code from the Come to Canada tool. Please remember, do not create a profile if you don't have the ECA report and IELTS score. Step number 7 includes receiving an invitation to apply. Candidate with CRS score above the cutoff receive invitation to apply for permanent residency. The letter is sent by IRCC and is received in the corresponding section of the express entry profile. It is important to note ITA is valid only for 60 days and extending the deadline is not possible. Here is an example of an ITA report. Step number 8 includes submitting documents and paying fees. Once you have collected all the documents requirement, it is now time to submit the documents. Once the documents are submitted, you need to pay fees for your application. You can pay the fees using Visa, American Express, and the MasterCard credit card. Important point to note here is, after you have submitted your documents and paid the fees, you will receive acknowledgement of receipt, which is a confirmation that your application for PR is received by IRCC and they have created a file for you. Also, after you receive AOR, report any significant change to your circumstances to IRCC, such as newborn child or any provincial nominations. After receiving your AOR, your status of background check and medical results will change. If your background check status reads not applicable any 3, it means the background check process is complete. And for medical results, approximately 1 month after you receive AOR, you should receive the message saying that you passed the medical test. Very crucial point here to remember is you will receive your dream email to submit your passport in your email account. You may not get update in your express entry profile. You should check your junk mail folders regularly. The email do not come from IRCC but from the country embassy in most of the cases. The final step includes preparing your landing in Canada. Now that you have submitted your passport for visa, it is time for you to prepare yourself for landing in Canada. To start, you might need to ask yourself the following questions. How do I bring or send money? Do you have medical insurance cover for Canada? What is the weather like when I land? Where should I settle? Where I am going to stay when I land? With that final step, we have come to the end of this video. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications.